It's always good to get royal stories cleared up, those big headlines that you see, and you think, wow, is that really true? Or where did that particular story come from? Here on the channel, particularly with our community, our friendship group, as you know, I like to make sure that we get to the bottom of those stories. So a lot of people ask me, instantly, Neil, what's the truth on this? And we do like to do some research and find out exactly where the story originated from, and as ever, how true is it? As I've often pointed out here on the show, the mainstream media are very strange. I've noted, for instance, that a famous newspaper over here in the United Kingdom keeps lifting stories from this site. But what they do is they just change it rather than naming me as a person as a source, all the while just stealing the stories without paying for it. Of course, difficult times, obviously, in newspapers. So you can understand exactly how this works, and more importantly, why you cannot trust everything you read in the media. So as ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning. Nice to see you here. I hope you're all keeping well. This particular story I wanted to share with you because, as we've told you before, this senior royal, otherwise known as the former royal, as Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, has really had an embattled time. Recently, of course, the person that was his good friend, Ghislaine Maxwell, spoke out on national television over here in the United Kingdom. But that, in fact, was a bit of a lie. That wasn't a world exclusive as that channel billed it. In fact, it was a chat with a colleague who was then selling that particular interview on her behalf. So once again, you see, these particular things always have something else attached. They're never what they seem. But it was this headline that I wanted to share with you about how King Charles has now kicked out the former royal known as Prince Andrew from Buckingham Palace. Apparently, it was a private apartment that he liked to use from time to time while staying in central London. So what's the true story behind that? As ever, let me explain. The true story is simply this, basically Buckingham Palace is going under major renovations right now. There are very few people actually living in Buckingham Palace, other than the security teams and the relevant workforce. As we now know, it could take up to 10 years for the whole palace to be renovated, in fact, to make into a modern working palace and a livable place for the monarch and queen. Now, obviously, now that 10 years is a long time, given King Charles's age. But did he really boot out Prince Andrew from his private apartments and his offices? Absolutely not. That particular area where Prince Andrew used to reside on occasions alongside his office is now thoroughly going under extensive renovations. So there's no booting out at all. The bottom line is he couldn't work in there even if he required to or wanted to. He's now been offered a similar office space over at St. James's Palace. That particular point of the story is way down in the brief. But it's fascinating, isn't it, to think that even in this day and age, the mainstream media want to make a big drama out of seemingly something and nothing. And as I've told you before, what I do find very annoying on behalf of the former royal known as Prince Andrew, it must be very galling just being able to use his name each time you want a headline, particularly in relevance to the fact that he had so many teddies on his bed. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think people find that a bad thing. If anything, a lot of people find it very endearing, don't they? So whichever way you look at it, as I often say here on the show, next time you see a story, do check in with us so we can tell you the truth, first and exclusive. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.